I'm going to show you how to increase your hip mobility and core stability at the same time. I'm Dr. Anthony Davis, and this is a variation of a Cossack squat that involves a PALLOF press. For this exercise, we're going to use bands, but you could be using a cable machine. And although I'm using a handle that clips onto bands or a cable machine, you could simply grab a band by hand to do the PALLOF press portion of this exercise. I've also seen a cool variation where you put a pole through the band, and that adds a rotational aspect to this movement, which is pretty fun. Okay, there are a few reasons we would do this exercise. One is for hip mobility, so you better be able to do a Cossack squat first. Let's review that. Before you do a Cossack squat, we want to just do some side lunges where we just go side to side and get used to this. Then we can really go deeper and get from side to side and stay deep the whole time. You can even drop all the way down like we would do in yoga, where they call this skandasana. So get used to this before you progress to anything more difficult. Then you need to be able to do a PALLOF press, which is where you have a band or a cable machine and we're resisting rotation. We're anti-rotating. The band wants to force my shoulders to rotate away from my hips, but I need to be able to control that with the strength of my abs and core so that I'm not twisting my spine if I don't want to. So the PALLOF press, hold the handle or bands close to your chest. And as you press away, you should have enough weight on here that it's difficult not to rotate. And you're really trying, you should feel it in your core in order to avoid rotation. And then you just perform slow rotations. I like to inhale as I press out and then exhale as I come back. By the way, I'm a little out of breath because not only did I just work out, but I filmed this like 3 times and my audio and video just kept failing. So I've done a lot of these. Okay, so that PALLOF press, that's the other reason that we want to do things, is to be able to stabilize at the core. So we want to be able to prevent rotation. This is not only important for sport performance, because every sport pretty much is a rotational sport, but also it's important for daily life. Let's see how. Let's say that I'm spiking a volleyball. Well, the moment that I lift up and hit that volleyball, the actual force there, the volleyball, is putting a force into my hand that wants to rotate me backwards. It wants to rotate my spine backwards, right? But if I have the core stability to hit that volleyball and keep my shoulders stacked over my hips, then I have way more strength and I'm less likely to irritate my spine. Not that it's bad to rotate your spine. It's perfectly fine to rotate your spine, but you want to train in the most stable position so you can deliver the most power during sport. Or another example would be in judo or jujitsu, where we're doing fit-ins for takedowns, where we need to be able to rotate there. We grab that person's collar, we step in, and we want to rotate and pull them over and throw them to the ground. Well, if their body is really heavy, it's going to tweak my back because it's going to force me to rotate. But if I have really good anti-rotation stability, then when I do this fit-in, my shoulders and my hips are stacked the entire time. But again, it's not just for sport performance, it's for normal people too. What about opening a really heavy door, right? Have you ever done that? You go up to a door and you think that it's pretty light and it's way heavier than you think, and you try to open it and you pull yourself towards the door. Well, especially then, that door is forcing you to rotate in a way that your spine doesn't necessarily want to or wasn't expecting to do. So that's why we train these rotational movements, is to be able to control those rotational forces. Okay, now let's actually do the PALLOF version of this Cossack squat. Remember, if you're using stretchy bands, then the closer you are to the surface they're attached to, the less tension is on the band, but the further away that you get, there's more tension. So find kind of a middle ground. If you're on a cable machine, it doesn't really matter. So plant your feet at the same distance that you would do your Cossack squat, and then we're going to take the band and hold it close to the chest. So then we get into our position. I want you to press the band out and hold it there the entire time as we shift our weight from side to side. Now my feet are pointing slightly out, okay? You could try to point them forward for more ankle mobility, but it's very, very difficult to do that. I would not recommend pointing your toes like way, way out. So kind of split the difference. Just a slight angle outwards seems to be the best for most people. So this primary variation here is just keeping the arms out the entire time as we shift our way back and forth. And of course, you're gonna wanna do both sides. sides. I'll show you 2 more variations though. So another way of doing this is keep the band close to the chest when you're near to the bands. And then when you press away, you actually do your PALLOF press and press your hands away from your chest. And when you go back, pull it back. When you go out, press out with your chest. So we're just going back and forth here and adding the actual pressing in the shoulders as we do it. And then we can do one more variation that you shouldn't do until you've done the other ones successfully for a little while, is that we can add a wood chop to the equation. So now for this one, I'm actually going to wind up here and let the bands take me this way. I'm not bending sideways, I'm just rotating here. And then I'm pressing over with my arms straight the entire time as I press. So we're doing some rotation. It's like a sideways wood chop as we get this hip mobility. And this one's a lot of fun and very difficult. If you want help putting these kinds of things together, I do work with people to get you out of rehab and pain and back to sport performance or to whatever your functional goals in your daily life are. So you can work with me online and I'll write your program. Check out the link in the description and book a call with me. Again, I'm Dr. Anthony Davis. Movement is medicine, so move your body every single day.